And now we have my recipe share. I'm going to share a bolognese stuffed capsicum recipe with you today. And if you haven't enjoyed capsicum in this way, it's definitely a good one to give a go. So let's go through the ingredients. But firstly, if you are wanting this resource and you are wanting this recipe, jump onto Wellbeing Wednesdays with Snez, and I post every week. I post the recipes on there. So I think with healthy cooking, it really is about educating yourself with doing things a little bit differently. And that's why I like this recipe so much, because if you haven't thought about chopping the top of a red capsicum off and filling it with bolognese sauce, sprinkling it with some cheese, although there's something different we're going to add on the top of this one, and popping it back in the oven, it really is a delicious meal. It's something you can make ahead of time. And you can put a variety of different sauces into it. So today's recipe is a bolognese recipe, but I've enjoyed this recipe many, many times over when I was a young person. And I still make it actually. This is quite a traditional Macedonian recipe, although we wouldn't have used a bolognese recipe. Mum would make the mince in more of a traditional Macedonian way, and it's literally called polni pipedki, which basically means filled peppers. So for those Macedonians out there that are listening, I know that you have probably not only tried it, but you've probably eaten it in the last week or so. So look, it is a great way to increase the nutritional value of your food. It's a great way to add more vegetables in. And as I mentioned, it's something that you can quite easily make in advance, leave in the fridge, and then just pop it in the oven and let it bake. But let's have a look at this recipe. Now, this recipe is actually quite a short recipe because I haven't given you the bolognese recipe itself, because I think everyone makes their own unique version of bolognese sauce. And so you can use your own bolognese that you would traditionally make. If you do want a new bolognese recipe to try, or a healthier take maybe on something that you're already enjoying, let me know. Go on to Wellbeing Wednesdays with Snez, put a post on, and I will add a bolognese recipe if you need one. But for today, we're going to take 4 large yellow or red capsicums. So this recipe is for 4 people. However, if you need to make it for more, or if you want to have leftovers, just add more bolognese and more capsicum. So adjust to what you need and who you're cooking for, or who's cooking for you. And then you're going to have your choice of bolognese. So however you choose to make it, it's absolutely fine. Now with bolognese sauce, when you're going to be making it for lasagna, for example, then you are wanting to make it a little bit more liquidy and a little bit wetter. So you'd be adding a bit more water, so it can help to cook through and not dry out when you are making lasagna. However, for this recipe, we kind of want to do the opposite. And so try and bring that to a simmer and try and simmer off as much of that water as you can. And if not, if there is some, then you'll see in the instructions it does say just to try and strain out some of that liquid, because the capsicum themselves, while they're cooking, will release some liquid as well. So we're going to cut these in half or de-seed them. So you can cut them in half. And I remember Mum just used to chop the tops off, fill it up with the mince, and then actually put the lid back on. And so then it would sort of infuse the flavour and help with the cooking time as well. So then we're going to need 2 tablespoons of parsley, fresh, and that's just to garnish once it's done. And also what I really like about this idea is having the 8 eggs. So as I mentioned, Mum would put the capsicum lid back on, but to increase the protein and the nutrients and how filling this recipe is, we're actually going to crack an egg over the top. So once you've made your bolognese sauce, it's really simple to put together. All you need to do, and you can use with bolognese sauce, and I'm not sure if I did this a couple of weeks ago, but you can make bolognese with a variety of different mince. So you could use a beef mince or a chicken mince or a pork mince or turkey or if you want to have a vegetarian option, you could even use textured vegetable protein or the vegetarian meat that you can use instead. So it definitely, or you could even do a lentil one. Oh, I've never even thought of putting a lentil one into capsicum, but I think my family might have that one coming. That's a really delicious idea. So once you've got your bolognese, you preheat your oven to 200 degrees. You're going to place the halved capsicums onto a baking tray. And the tip there is definitely to put some baking paper on, because they will release a lot of liquid as it's cooking, and then as it goes further into the cooking process, you don't want all of that stuck onto your pan so that you're scrubbing for a long time. Quick cleanup is a good cleanup as far as I'm concerned. So then all you need to do is spoon the bolognese into the capsicums, leaving any juices out, as I mentioned. Make an indent, because we are adding the egg on top of these ones, into each of the capsicums and in the meat, so that then you can pop the egg into there. So you're going to carefully break an egg and place it into the indent, and then you're going to bake for, now this recipe says 15 minutes, but I know every time I've made it according to Mum's traditional recipe, we would bake that for a lot longer. So if you're going to bake it for 15 minutes, that's pretty much going to be enough time for that egg to cook through really properly, especially if your bolognese sauce is hot to put into the capsicum to start with. So that will definitely have that egg cooked in that time, and you will end up with quite a crunchy capsicum still. See, whereas I've traditionally always cooked it, and I've been shown to cook it for sort of 30 to 40 minutes, even 50 minutes sometimes. So then you've got this really soft capsicum that is holding all of it together. And in fact, as you're enjoying the capsicum, the stuffed capsicum, because it's been cooked so well, the skin of the capsicum pulls away and you can just scoop out this really soft roasted capsicum flesh, which when mixed with the bolognese sauce, I'm sure that as you're listening, going, oh my goodness, it just sounds delicious. So that is, so the cooking time will depend on how you're going to enjoy that capsicum. And if you don't particularly like squishy roasted capsicum, then you may want to just leave it in there for 15 minutes. But with the toppings, as I mentioned, that adding that extra protein in through the egg is new to me, and I've just sort of discovered it with this recipe. You can pop the lid back on. You could put, especially if you're doing an Italian style of bolognese sauce, you could definitely put Parmesan over the top. Feta is my go-to, what I really enjoy, so I'd crumble some of that on the top, and then you can sprinkle it with your Parmesan. And yeah, so once you've baked it, it's ready to go. I would definitely be serving this with the side salad, and it is a really quick and delicious meal. Well, it's quick to put together. I do respect that. It does bake for a while, and the sauce does take a little while to cook, but it's such a great take, especially if you're wanting to reduce the amount of carbohydrate that you're having. And I'm not against carbohydrate at all, but if you have had carbohydrate for breakfast, which is what I always recommend, and then if you've had it for lunch and you want to go without it for dinner time, which is completely fair and reasonable, then you can substitute in the capsicum, or especially if you're wheat intolerant and you're trying to find alternatives. I know zoodles or zucchini noodles are great to go under bolognese sauce, but you can also think about enjoying it in this stuffed capsicum way. Now, with the bolognese sauce, traditionally I wasn't taught to make this recipe with bolognese sauce. The traditional Macedonian way is to actually cook up the mince meat with some black pepper, Hungarian sweet paprika and vegeta, and I think Mum used to put some onion through it, and it's quite a different type of a flavour. So you could make this in any way that you wanted to. If you wanted to make more of a Thai style flavour, like, it's all going to work when you put it all together. So that's my recipe for today, bolognese stuffed capsicums. And capsicums have been quite expensive to purchase through the winter months, but we're going to start coming into the summer months where we will see an abundance of capsicum as they come into season. So this is a really great recipe just to have, and I know that Even yesterday, I purchased some capsicums and they were just looking a lot bigger and a lot nicer. So, definitely a recipe that will be great over the coming months. So, give that a go and let me know. I would love to hear if you have given this a go or if you've got your own version of what sort of mince works really well in this recipe. Jump onto Wellbeing Wednesdays with Snej. Let me know that you're listening in and let me know if you do have any takes or twists of your own on this delicious recipe.